Hey everyone, Coach Frank here for another training tip about gravel. Now, there are four aspects of gravel training we'll cover today, plus a bonus sneak peek at our new 6-week gravel training plan if you watch till the end. The four pillars I'm primarily going to talk about today are long rides, key gravel workouts, sweet spot training and simulation rides, and then considerations of putting that all into your training plan design. Why am I qualified to talk about gravel training? In addition to my 20 years of coaching experience, I myself have won the amateur version of the Crusher in the Tushar and competed in various BWRs, Steamboat Gravel, and mostly I have coached numerous riders in nearly every modern day gravel race in the United States, which means I've analyzed the courses, I've studied the power file, and I've talked with the athletes from their experience from doing these races. And so this video today is to share all that knowledge with you here today. And finally, I've designed a lot of training plans, custom, each one unique for the individual gravel racer over the years. So I've seen firsthand what works. And again, that's what we're going to talk about with you today, sharing those fundamentals. And real quick, we're not going to talk about nutrition or equipment here, even though they're massively important. Subscribe to our channel and we'll cover them in future videos. And you can also browse our past nutrition and equipment talks over there as well. But while we are talking about gravel training today, these principles apply to all disciplines of cycling and a fundamental training plan design. Now, finally, I have titled this video, Gravel Training for Beginners and Intermediates, which I think covers most of us here. I think you tell me. However, stay tuned for a future video for all you crazy hardcore athletes that are training a lot, like to PR your previous year's time, to get a top 10, to get on the podium, possibly even win. Those goals and mindset are a whole nother level and they deserve their own training tip. This video is going to be similar to having fun for modest, realistic goals that are going to keep you married, keep you employed. You're still going to be able to be a good parent, have fun, and hopefully improve a little bit. All right, how does one train for gravel? The biggest thing is riding more. These races, they're long. They're like really long. And for a lot of us, they're a challenge just to finish long. So when you think about your training, you really want to address that first. If there's one single thing you can do, it's add the long ride into your training. And after that, then you want to think about doing the long ride faster. And that means riding harder because these events really wind up being really one long time trial for 3 hours, for 4 hours, or 5 hours or more. And so they're like a time trial, but no aero bars, not anymore. But what does that mean for your training? Like I said, long rides. And you just take the duration of the gravel race that you're training for and try to do that in your training. It's easy as that. You can look up times from last year of categories, think about that. And then once you've done that step one, then add in some intensity and then do these rides harder. Ride same distance, same duration, just ride them harder at a higher intensity. Maybe start off zone 2 just to achieve the duration and then start off by doing lots of tempo and sweet spot, even some threshold and VO2 to ride them long and hard. And then the third part is you're going to progress to long rides where you're actually mimicking what goes on in the gravel race. Namely, the start of these gravel events, they're chaotic, they're fast, they're hard. So we're going to talk about that. And we have a special approach for you there. And then finally, you can't ride long every day. We're working Monday through Friday. And so then you look at key workouts that you can do when you're not doing your long rides. And we will cover those today. So really quick, let's look at the power file of a long gravel race. This is the BWR North Carolina from June 22nd last summer. 4.5 hours. I did the wafer version, which is not even the waffle version. Again, I'm 53. I don't get to train that much, maybe 8 to 10 hours if I'm lucky. So I take the approach of entering a lot of these wafer versions or doing the shorter version, like the red course at Steamboat Gravel. Like I don't even do the black or the blue. I go straight for the red, and it's really a distance appropriate for where I am in my work life training balance. So anyway, but it still took me 4.5 hours. What you can see right here is notice all the red in the beginning of the race, and then notice the lack of the red towards the end of the race. That's because these races, they start off very hard. You're trying to get in as good a group as you possibly can. And then you get tired and you're just trying to get to the finish line. So we're going to cover that with what that looks like in your training. Like I said, step 1, do a 4.5-hour ride, possibly in zone 2. Step 2, that's if you're using this duration. Step 2 is do a 4.5-hour ride with a lot of sweet spot, add some climbing in there. And then step 3 is do a 4.5-hour gravel simulation with the first hour really hard, like you see here hard, and then you sweet spot for as long as you can after that. And that's what we call a gravel simulation workout. We're going to cover that next. But first are key workouts that are really specific to gravel. And it depends on what kind of race you're doing, the course that is. So if you're doing a race that's not that hilly, my recommendation for key workouts are VO2s and possibly some anaerobic work, especially if the course is punchy and has hills less than 2 to 3 minutes, like Unbound or Big Sugar, or like a lot of gravel races east of the Mississippi. And that's an important distinction. It's really just the topography of the United States. East of the Mississippi tends to be shorter, less climby races, and then west of the Mississippi and the Rockies and California and the Northwest, you get the gravel races that have the long climbing. So your training should match that, and your key workouts should match that too. Threshold work for the races west of the Mississippi, and VO2 and anaerobic work for the races east of the Mississippi. Now you may be saying, what about group rides? And of course, yes, we love group rides because you can work on your pack riding skills and they push you to ride harder than you could on your own. And they really are specific for that first hour of the race. So you got to be able to ride hard and ride in a pack. And that's what a good gravel group ride is for. Because do you know what the holy grail of success is in a gravel race? Yes, it's getting into as good of a group as you possibly can without blowing up. It's hopping aboard the train that's going to travel faster than you would if you were on your own. And a lot of times the way these gravel races is you have to dig really deep with VO2 max effort. You get on that good group, you begin to draft, the group slows down, and then you've caught the train and you're riding at 24 miles an hour as opposed to 19 miles an hour on your own. And that's going to make a big difference at the end of the race, 10 to 30 minutes. And so that's a big deal. So it really behooves you to try to get in as good as a group as possible in that first hour, settle in, and then catch that train, punch your ticket, and finish faster. So that's the art, because you can go really hard, dig yourself super deep, and then you just blow to the moon, maybe like an hour and a half, 2-3 hours later. I've done that myself at Steamboat Gravel. So it's an art, and that's honestly why you got to race. You got to find your limits. And so I do encourage everyone to do some B and C gravel races to really experiment with that so that you're not experimenting on race day. And we'll address it in your training, but you definitely want to get out there and do some training races. So that the VO2 max workouts give you the ability to dig deep, hang, catch that train, finish faster. Also, threshold's very important west of the Mississippi, and then sweet spot is your filler. Those key workouts are going to be what we call a 1-hour gravel power workout, and that's when you mimic the start of a gravel race in that first hour. So you do VO2 max effort, and then without any break, you go straight to a threshold effort. And then without any break, you go straight to a sweet spot effort. That's how it's going to go down in a gravel race for you. And we're going to give you those workouts or show you how to do that in concept in your training. In between those, you want to do some just raw VO2s, the 3, 4, 5 minute VO2 max intervals, just raw power, the ability to dig deep. Physiologically, they do increase your FTP, which is always a good thing. And those are key workouts. In between that, some sweet spot here and there, some zone 2, that and some midweek fast spirited group rides are for your midweek training. Now, in terms of sweet spot training and gravel race simulation rides, you're going to do those together. So you're going to take that 1 hour gravel power workout. You're going to extend it out to the length of your race. Not at first, because you want to apply a progressive overload. We're going to start you off with a 3-hour gravel simulation, then do a 4-hour the next Saturday, then do a 5-hour the next Saturday. And when you do this, you're going to really challenge yourself with the sweet spot portion of it. We don't know how long you're going to be able to sweet spot. We want you to try to find out, because so you're going to do, after a brief warm up, you're going to do a VO2 max effort for 5 minutes, and then a 10-minute threshold effort without any break. And then you're going to go right into sweet spot. And it's hard, but guess what? These races are hard. That's how they go down. And then the way that we make them go from 3, 4, 5, you're just going to do more sweet spot and more zone 2 on the back end of that sweet spot when you get tired. So when we say sweet spot as long as you can, that's really important, because everybody gets tired in these races, even the winners, even the pros. And I've analyzed power files from the winner of the Unbound and the BWR, and they were right there. They were suffering doing zone 2 in the last hour. Everyone finished these races absolutely tapped out. That's the important thing to remember. When you're out there and you're suffering and you're creeping and crawling, guess what? So is everyone else, even the winners. That's why these races are hard. Then that's why you want to practice how you want to play, because it's easier to go to the mat in training, get tired and keep going, than to have to face that for the first time mentally in the race. So trust me when I say it's better to do this in your training than for the first time in a race. Then that's why these gravel simulation rides, they're mental training. And they say your brain is a muscle, and I couldn't agree more. Really flex that muscle with your grit and determination when you do these gravel simulation rides. They're going to go a long way. And we're going to put them on your plan on Saturdays primarily. Of course, you could move them to Sundays if that's your better long ride day. So let's talk about the considerations that go into your gravel training plan, because let's put all that together into some concepts that apply to most other cycling disciplines too. But realistically, we're talking about 2 recovery days per week, Mondays and Fridays. That's what we call the working man and woman's training plan design. We assume you work Monday through Friday and you have the weekend off, and those can be your long ride days. Other principles are take a rest week every 4 weeks. So 3 weeks on, 1 week off. You could do 2 weeks on, 1 week off, but we find that 3 weeks on, 1 week off is really great for gravel training. Like I said, we assume you work Monday through Friday, you could ride long on the weekend. So what that means into the strategy of when you do your long rides, when you do your key workouts, is you're going to do your shorter, structured, focused key workouts during the week, and you do your long endurance ride on the weekends, primarily Saturday. So Saturday is the cornerstone, most important ride of the whole week. That's where everything else revolves around. Think of the Saturday ride like the sun, and the key workouts like the planets that revolve around the sun. Your short structure during the week, also that's where you're going to get in those quality group rides. Some of you may have a quality group ride on the weekend, and you can do your gravel simulation rides in tandem with those, especially if the ride has stronger riders and is going to challenge you. Short, sharp group rides during the week, and then you're going to do your VO2s during the week, your anaerobic and threshold intensity. One of the reasons why I like the short, sharp group ride, it's for that organic intensity. Little bits of 2 minutes, really high power here, 5 minutes of VO2 max power here, lots of bursty power. Like basically when you dig deep, and you know what? When you find that good group ride, you're not burning all these mental matches doing intervals. And doing intervals is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but it does take up mental energy. And one of the things that we as coaches like to do is budget out your mental energy. You previously probably have heard me talk about how we don't like to have athletes test too many times of the year. We're saving their mental energy, mental marbles. And by doing a group ride, you get that organic intensity without the mental energy. And they're fun and they're really good for you. So I definitely encourage everyone to find a group ride to add to their midweek gravel training. Then zone 2, when you get tired, part of the fatigue dependent training plan design, those are usually going to be on Thursdays. So an example week is Monday off. Do your yoga, do your foundations work, do your strength and conditioning mobility work. Tuesday, that's your hard key workout, like your VO2 max. Then Wednesday is a great time for a gravel group ride or just a hard group ride. And then Thursday is a great time to just spin it out in zone 2. Friday's going to be off, more yoga, more strength and conditioning, more Dr. Eric Goodman's foundations. If anyone has back pain in your gravel race, do the Dr. Eric Goodman 12-minute foundation routine. I can attest, no back pain ever. Extremely good. That pretty much, and then you get to Saturday, and that's your long gravel ride day. Start off with meeting the duration and distance, then graduate up to riding a little bit harder. That's what we call an OTS ride, sweet spot OTS ride. And then you're going to move on to the third step, which is the gravel simulation. And that is more or less it. And then Sunday becomes like your zone 2. You're just getting in some fat max oxidative training to just get in your hours for the week, and then back to Monday and repeat, but you're going to just do a little bit of progression. So 4 coaching tips that relates to that. As I've previously said, practice how you want to play. You want to make the training hard because the races already are. Use a B race as for training and pack riding skills, experimentation, getting in the good group, nutrition and hydration and equipment as well. Maybe some of you are raising your hands, wondering about lifting. No, don't even worry about lifting for gravel training now that we're in the season. Save that for the off season. The training is too hard to lift. Even if you're doing some maintenance work, the training, did you catch me here? The training is too hard to have room for lifting. It's a matter of your time is best spent as riding as much as possible and recovering as much as possible from that. Save the lifting, save the maintenance work for the off season, preseason, postseason. And then finally, pay attention to your level. Your level is very representative of how much you've been riding lately. So really try to be consistent with following the plan, ride more, watch your level go up. Your FTP follows along as we've previously recorded about. And then when you do your gravel simulation rides, you're working on your mental skills, you're practicing your nutrition, you're putting your equipment through the paces, all of which we'll do future videos on. And then obviously, if you bonk or you cramp, it's better you did it in training than on race day. Address why and fix it the next time you do a gravel simulation ride before you get to that next race. So that's why you do your gravel simulations. It's like a dress rehearsal, and you're going to flush out any chinks in the armor. Okay. All right. As promised, we have a little sneak peek of our new 6-week gravel plan. And it really has 4 key features that we've talked about here in this video. Number 1 is riding more in a progressive overload. And that's these long weekend rides and then the short structure key workouts during the week. The second part of it is these gravel power workouts where you're combining the VO2, the threshold, and the sweet spot to really work on that first hour, your gravel power start to get you in that best group possible. We want you on the best train as possible. That's going to net you your best results. Third is your VO2 max intervals. We're going to have you do 3-minuters, 4-minuters, and 5-minuters. They're going to raise your FTP and they're going to increase your ability to really dig deep to catch that train to get into that group. And finally, most importantly, is the cornerstone of the plan. It's the gravel simulations in your long rides on Saturdays where we're pairing, as I've said, VO2, threshold, and sweet spot. It meets the physiology and the power demands of the race, and it's going to be your opportunity to practice your nutrition, test your equipment, and flex that mental muscle of yours. Really, following a plan like this, it takes the guesswork out of your training. It's going to hold you accountable, and they flat out work. As you've just learned, it's based on what I just talked about. Not to be too salesy, but a complimentary coaching call is included. We'll give you the first month for free, and then we'll be with you every step along the way with your journey, where you can chat with a coach in the app. And you can also, for any of your coaching, nutrition, equipment questions, Coach Cat is there for you for post-ride and morning recovery analysis, as well as expert coaching advice for all your burning, training, racing, nutrition questions, just to name a few. And that's it, my friends. I hope you have some great gravel training out there. Maybe we'll see you at a future gravel race. I'll be in Steamboat later on this summer, and I have to do the Big Sugar in October. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. We'll be doing a lot more training tips in this format. So until next time, work hard, ride fast, have fun, and as always, FTFP.